rumor of late that they might just go with number 4 overall and take a wide receiver early, like just beat everybody to the punch, which sounds kind of crazy, but they might do it.
Oh, they're going receiver early. Yeah. I'm excited for the Jets, man. I don't think I'd ever say that. I didn't think I'd ever say that. But I like what they're doing over there, man.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for year 2 for sure. You know, they definitely have got to get better, and I think they will be. But they've got so many picks in the draft. It's just like mystery team, you know, 4 and 10.
Mm-hmm. And then the 2 in the second round, those are dangerous for running back. I mean, if Brees is still around there, that could be curtains for Michael Carter.
Yeah,
but those are the danger ones. Those are the danger ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think you know, this year Carter is still going to be probably pretty okay, just because you know it's really tough for a rookie to get in there and just steal a ton of work from a veteran. You know, even if the veteran's only a year ahead, I mean, that's still, you know, a lot. So, you know, unless you're talking about, you know, a first round pick or something like that, you know, like we saw Javonte Williams last year. He struggled all year long to, you know, get more than 50% of the workload. And, you know, and when you lose that, when you just never get that chance to have a huge part of the workload, you know, even though he had that one game when Gordon was out with injury, and then they come back and it's right back to the same old timeshare. It just kind of sucks. So, you know, that could be what's in store for Brees Hall, but that would definitely be better for Carter if that's what happens.
I'm just looking at the beginning of that second round. It's just nuts. Basically, from picks 35 down to 43, it's just like straight up running back danger zone. It's like,
right,
you got to figure there might be 3 running backs drafted in those picks.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we'll see what Scott has to say about it. Yeah, Billy, we know, brother. We're just we're waiting for our guest to come in. We haven't really started the show yet. Appreciate you tuning in, man.
Yeah. I mean, we're live, but we're just, you know, we're killing time live until our guest gets here.
So you guys, I'm thinking of starting a dyno startup on FFPC just because I've been not drafting anything at all.
Well, just not to interrupt you, but we have Billy Muzio in the chat. Starting tomorrow, I have an FFWC high stakes startup with him. It's a couple of the Draft Shark guys are in it. Austin Martin's in it. It's going to be a blast. I'm splitting the team with Andrew Schoenberg.
That's $1,000 buy-in?
That's $1,000 buy-in.
You guys are ballers.
We got the 12th pick where Andrew and I love to be, so you might as well already cash the check.
I don't have my soundboard up yet, Theo.
That was definitely I queued it up for you, JD. You got to get
totally
it.
Did. I know. I'm pulling it up right now because I'm like, shit, I didn't even pull it up.
I'm not sure what pick Billy has, but there's a nice little chat going on right now, and people are fired up for it. But yeah, go on. You have a little startup fever as well.
Oh, big time. And I'm you know, kind of like that. I've had invites to leagues and all that, but starting to think like I kind of like being in leagues where I don't know anyone. I want to know how you guys feel about that. I like to have both. I mean, most of my leagues I'm with you guys and, you know, people I know, but I'm just saying I kind of like having the one-offs, especially in the high stakes where it's just kind of you in there and you know, because Eric was asking me to join a league that he's doing a 250 triflex, one of those triflex. After the draft. So I was going to ask you guys, if you're just doing one, say you just wanted to do one more. I'm not saying I'm doing one more, but if you just want to do one more, would you guys prefer drafting before the draft or after? I know Dan's answer to this one for sure. I feel like I know his answer. Theo, I think might be, I don't know. How do you feel about it, Theo?
I actually like both. I think that there's something to be said for drafting before the NFL draft. It's definitely not going to be as clean and tight with like, you know, exact like values of guys, but if you're willing to take some risk on, I feel like a lot of drafters are risk averse to drafting rookies when they don't know where they're going. So if you're willing to kind of take the gamble, you can end up with some fantastic values. And you also, if you believe in your knowledge base, like a player like Dan would have, you're going to be ahead of the curve on some guys that will pick up steam over the summer. So I think like once the draft happens, you kind of know the value of certain veterans based on what the team does. And I think you can also get, some nice early values on veterans. So I can go either way on it. I don't mind it though. I think that it's an aggressive way to draft, but I could go either way.
Yeah, I feel, and Dan, I'll let you go. I'm just joking around because I always feel like you're more conservative, right? That you're probably going to prefer to draft after would be my guess. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, just slightly in that way, but it really doesn't matter. I mean, just the main thing is I have a harder time taking the rookies when I don't know what the landing spots are going to be or what their draft capital is going to be. It's more the draft capital than anything that makes it a little bit difficult. Like the main ones you can kind of figure out, but it's the lesser rookies that you're like trying to figure out, where's the best place to take this guy or whatever, so there's always some surprises, but those surprises can be good or bad, like last year when we did the Dynasty Depot one and we ended up with Elijah Moore, who got fairly late in the process, like if people had known what Elijah Moore was going to be doing, he would have gone earlier in that draft.
Andrew and I drafted a Najee Harris share a few days before the NFL draft. So his landing spot in Pittsburgh obviously had him, skyrocket up in redraft and also in dynasty startups. So we got a great value on that. We actually made a trade in draft with Goat District guest Biplap Mandel, and I'm sure Bip is not so happy he made that trade after the fact. But it was good for Andrew and I.
Yeah, for sure.
Billy's like DMing me. Like, I'm like, I know I'm trying something new because our guest isn't here yet, just to kind of walk into the show. And then I'm like, what, is it a bad idea? Like, you gotta let me know,
JD's setting up the studio, so we're not showing you guys what's going on.
Yeah,
right,
we gotta
exactly.
set up the studio, man. We put big money into this thing, it's gotta be set up right.
Top secret
100%.
Have you guys done any triflex this year? There he is.
I'm in one right now. I'm in a triflex startup. I saw that 11 people had joined and I took the 12th spot. So I had the 102. I got Pat Mahomes, and then I told Dan I was getting all these just terrible trade offers. So I said I'm going to send a terrible trade offer myself, and it was accepted. And I got the 105, and I got Kyler Murray. So I'm set at QB, hopefully for life.
What was that trade? 105?
I use the Player Profiler Dynasty Dominator app for my trade calculator. It's the one I recommend. It's a great one. You can set it up for timed premium for Superflex, whatever. And I offered a trade that was like 150 points difference, which is pretty big. I'd have to pull up the exact details. I sent the 211 and the 302 startup for the first round pick, the 105, and also I believe I got his like 12th rounder, 11th rounder. So he had countered. I had set like an absurd one for like the first and the 7th. Then he sent back for the 17th. And I used a magic word that I get a lot of trades done with, where I say, meet me in the middle. Most people, when they see meet me in the middle, they think about saying yes. And he met me in the middle from the difference between 7th round and 17th round, right in the 11th round. And I threw like a inconsequential 20th for 19th swap. So I got the trade done. So I don't pick again until the end of the 4th. But, in the triflex format, I always prioritize QB and wide receiver. I don't want to get stuck in those spots. I feel like it's very hard to catch up. So I'll just be, I'll most likely be taking a receiver my next 2 picks, unless there's some absurd value there. So I was very happy to get QB out of the way. And also QB3, in that format, you're only allowed to draft 3 QBs. you can roster multiple more QBs than that during the season, but you can only draft 3. So I can kind of punt QB3, and take like QB 35 or 36 way down the line. That's another thing that allows you to do with the 2 QBs. So I usually don't go QB. I usually get like an anchor QB, but it's hard to pass up that elite value.
Yeah, for sure.
Scotty, you good to go, brother?
Yes.
I like the fishbowl Transformer shirt. I got that exact same one.
Yes, absolutely. I actually got one for my son, and he loves to be twins with dad.
How old is son?
He's going to be 6 tomorrow, Friday.
Nice.
6 tomorrow, Friday.
It's a good age to twinsy with.
Yeah, absolutely, man. He loves it. Yeah, he's a good dude, man. He likes me, which is amazing.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, let's kick this off, boys.
FYI, I can't see you guys.
Yeah,
I can't see you. I can't see you either. We're trying something new. New.
Okay.
Goat district, you know the Pope listens. Dynasty, our religion, for the blokes missing. On all of these trades, on all of these plays, on all of these grades. By the end of the day, y'all getting played. So, what you gonna do next? Try to fill up that flex? Send the homie a text. That trash offer's the best. You try to make it complex, then they text you back. Now all of a sudden they don't make any sense. Broaden your horizons, boy. Dynasty's not for the Simons, boy. These trades not for consignment, boy. Respect your opponent, y'all some piranhas, boy. This my advice, from me to you. Open up your cute little podcast queue. Search up GOAT district, my dude. Pop it in your ear, man, y'all know what to do. It's the... And I always be traded. And I always be traded. And I always be trading. Y'all try to betray them, but first you gotta bait them. Fish.
What is up, Fantasyland? There are those beautiful faces. Guys, welcome to the district. Monster show tonight. We're fresh off of a live ball-in last night. We had Zachary Kruger from NBC Sports Edge join Dan and I for a live ball-in on Underdog. Go check that out if you haven't yet. It's on Pod. It's on YouTube, on this channel. But tonight, guys, we all know what's coming up. NFL drafts coming up. Rookie drafts are coming up. What do you do with your picks? What rookies are you targeting? Who are you avoiding? What kind of trades are you looking for? Guys, all these are being answered tonight. We're gonna help you win your rookie drafts. And you see him on the screen, man. Mr. Jax Falcone. I think I heard this is this your third time back in the district, man? Welcome back, brother.
I love it. I love it here, man. Thank you for having me. You guys are really, really great. You do great work. I love your takes. Love the way you do it. So I'm happy to be here. It feels like home.
We appreciate that. Jax has been crushing it this offseason. Definitely give his podcast a listen and check out his work on Twitter and on the Undroppables. It's just been fire.
Thank you. Yeah, we had a few pretty awesome guests. I had Ray GQ and Evan Silva and Matt Kelly, and we certainly have people who from all different angles. The Jordan McNamara show was a lot of fun. CD Lamb Battle Scars. We didn't catch that one. I got a lot of great feedback on that. Me and Jordan we tussled with each other. We edited some stuff out. I mean, we were really going at each other, and it was a lot of fun. Thank you. That's fine.
You crushed him on CD Lamb.
Thank you. But you know who won was the people, because it was a fun show. And, sometimes you can't get to those spaces because everybody's kind of nice to each other. And it was a lot of fun, man. I give Jordan a hell of a lot of credit. He came up there and just stood toe to toe, and we had a lot of fun. And I loved it, man. It was so much fun. It was intense. So it was cool.
Awesome. I listened to that one. It was fantastic.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to give that one a listen. I did not catch it, but anything you guys are on, you and Jordan, always worth listening to.
Yeah, he was good.
Mm-hmm.
He was wrong, but he was good. No, I'm joking. I'm just joking.
Nice.
He was right. He was right.
He was
for
right.
A lot of the show until the CD Lamb.
And he was right and wrong at the same time. Like, I mean, and I was right and wrong at the same time. Like, that's the fun of it, is like, you learn by getting into those arguments a little bit. Like, I don't know. It's just, let's do that shit right now. Let's have it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, nobody's learning when everybody's agreeing, right?
Right.
Yep.
It's boring.
So let's just dive right in. And let's start off by talking about one of my favorite things that you put out every year. Your anatomy of a top player, basically fill in the position: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, or tight end. You have them all down, and it's a whole series that you put out on Twitter each year. You look at the top, I believe it's is it top 12 quarterbacks or top 6?
It's arbitrary. I think I did. Okay. I try to just identify the elite. Yeah, I try to just identify the top tier, and some years it's different than others. But I think you're going to ask me, because I don't mean to skip ahead on the show sheet, but you're going to ask me, like, how do I determine that? And I think like I've done it different ways each year. One year I used my rankings. One year I used maybe the first year I used ADP. I don't remember. And then I used our composite rankings at the Undroppables. This year I actually used Keep Trade Cut. I wanted to use what the crowd thought was the top 16, running backs, I think I used the top 8 tight ends, the top 10 or 12 quarterbacks, as you point out, top 20 wide receivers. So I just but I used their rankings because their rankings are crowdsourced. So I didn't want to use any one person's opinion, more sort of just the crowd. That's how I generated the data set of top whatever.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And so for each position, they have, kind of a lot of different benchmarks. I'm going to throw this up on the screen here. I just basically have it as a,
cool.
I moved everything into an Excel sheet so we can get it all kind of on one.
Dan's the spreadsheet guy.
Yeah.
So it was also handy for me, because then I can I can go back and show you the stuff I'm not showing you, where
the graphics
all the rookies up there and check them off.
If you draft with Dan, expect an Excel sheet in your inbox like a couple days before the draft. It's awesome.
The graphics are so cool, man. I love this. I'm teasing. It's really good.
Yeah,
I love
it's
high tech here, man. We're high tech.
Yeah, man. This is
cutting edge.
Yeah, but it is actually better because you have everything right there in front of you. So yeah, I mean, it's basically just sort of trying to identify all these things and go ahead. I think you have a comment or question. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically for each one, you've kind of gone through several different areas and tried to figure out where all of these, where all the quarterbacks tend to fall. And,
right.
It's not perfect, right? Like some, there's usually, 1 or 2 outliers in 1 or 2 spots. Like they don't all hit all the benchmarks, right?
Right.
Just a little bit on that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, there's a lot on the cutting room floor too. Like I remember when I first did running backs, I'd be like, oh, agility score. And it's noise. It's nothing. It's, there's a lot of stuff that's just, it doesn't even matter. It's worthless information. So, even like 40 time with wide receiver, I actually put it there just so people can see how it's noise a bit, because I feel if I don't put it there, people are like, well, speed matters. It doesn't really at all. Even the 40 time on the wide receiver thing, it's like, there's not even, it's not like the faster the better. It's more sort of just like, don't worry about it unless it's really bad. And so that's kind of even why the 40 time is in the wide receiver one, not because I think it's important, but I think it's important to mention that it's not important. Does that make sense? So all these things are just trying to identify, what you should be looking for. And if you're looking at a wide receiver saying, oh, he's got to be fast, well, you're looking for the wrong thing, because that doesn't necessarily hold signal. And I'm not trying to be fancy either with like analytics. It's more just simple, like identification. The easiest one is running back. The hardest one is quarterback by far. So that's like running backs are really easy to spot. Quarterbacks are difficult, but I'm starting to, I don't know, man. You try to figure out like what are the most important things about a quarterback. And maybe it's like, I still think it's probably a young prospect that gets drafted early that had a lot of attempts. I think actually, or a lot of starts, a lot of games played at a young age, I think and then gets drafted early. That means he was probably just a little bit farther ahead and a little bit better prospect. But quarterbacks are really tough to put into these boxes. But I think a lot of times you just want to look for some dominance out there. I like the interception percentage is a good one. It eliminated Jordan Love for me, and not for the Green Bay Packers, unfortunately. But but it did. I was off him just on interception percentage alone.
There you go. And may I say that if you do manage to ever get quarterback completely figured out, there's a very nice job awaiting you at any one of 32 different locations.
Yes.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, millions of dollars in your future.
Exactly. So, you can you can definitely rate your own ticket with
Especially in Cleveland.
Ooh,
right.
Woof.
Yeah. And so let's how would you say, like, how do the, do you see many prospects that really hit all the thresholds, or do the successful rookies just hit most of the thresholds for a given position? Or, how do you judge your prospects when you're tallying them up versus, these?
You're talking about this class?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, a little bit. I do kind of wait for draft capital, because you can see like the first one on all of them is drafted early. Like, you do want to see what the NFL thinks of these prospects as well. But like a guy like Breece Hall is probably the biggest can't miss prospect on the board this year. He hits all of the stuff there. I mean, you just look at everything, go down the list, you're going to be like, yep. Everything is there. Maybe yards per carry, which again is a little noisy anyway. But I was actually surprised. I don't know if you noticed, but yards per carry for the data set I used, I think they were like all except one or two had a career yards per carry over 6. So while it's not necessarily a data point I like to look at because it can be a little wonky, it was pretty, commonly hit by these elite backs. So, it's a dangerous one to look at alone. But when an elite prospect also hits that one, you're probably looking at a pretty dope player. So yeah, I think Breece Hall is kind of the only one that stands out as a clear winner. Everybody else is a little murky. And once we get the draft capital, things come into focus.
My underdog teams are very happy to hear that.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? I reached a bit for Breece Hall and a couple underdog teams too.
Yeah, he's my most player.
Nice.
His speed score is crazy high too. He's like close to 120 on the speed score.
Was draft capital.
Sorry, Dan, you cut out there.
And I think I'm freezing up.
That Minnesota frost is sitting on the cable.
It's still winter up north. But yeah, Breece Hall just seems can't miss it. And Kenneth Walker also checks a bunch of those boxes, doesn't he?
Yeah, he misses a big one though, the receptions, right? So
yes, absolutely.
His BMI is actually a little light too. He's not exactly all there. So, his early production wasn't very good. We have to make some excuses even for Kenneth Walker, and the big one is the receptions. The other one on this list anyway is the early production, by freshman or sophomore season. And people will say, well, he was at, Wake Forest and all this sort of thing. Look, you can make all the excuses you want, but we don't have to make any excuses for Dalvin Cook and Saquon Barkley. And right. So we didn't have to make excuses for those guys. So that's just what it is. I mean, I like Kenneth Walker a lot. He's a great prospect, but yeah, he misses on a few of these spots. It doesn't mean he can't be good. Like, I think people, you're not eliminating guys because they don't hit this stuff. You're just saying, interesting, they're not perfect. So I need to maybe not go too crazy thinking they're the next best thing. I mean, every year, and I think that's, you're going to ask me later about this class, and I think I'm an overall fade, but it's just because like whoever is the second best running back is now the RB2. It doesn't mean that he's as good as every other RB2 in every other class. He could have been. I mean, you think about Kenneth Walker, he's probably, I don't know, man, in that JT Akers Dobbins class. I mean, he's probably, RB 7 or 8, maybe. I mean, I don't know, him or Gibson, somewhere in there. I mean, he's just not. Where do
you put Breece Hall in there just to show the comparison?
I think Breece Hall changed my opinion of him. I wasn't so sure he was going to be this electric of an athlete. And so now I put him right there. He's not in that JT Barkley, Zeke sort of, stratosphere, but I think he's in that next group of, Dobbins and Dalvin Cook and players like that. He's in there, man. He's a hell of a prospect.
I think Dalvin's a great name for him. I think that's the comparison I would go with, and I think it's something we can aspire as holding that 101, and I think we'd all be pleased with that.
Yep. I mean, for the record, Dalvin was my 101 in or RB1 in that class, over CMC and Fournette and Mixon. So I love Dalvin, but I had all four of those guys clustered together, but I liked Dalvin the most.
Yeah, totally makes sense. What about the wide receivers in this class? What are you seeing with them? There any front runners for you right now?
Yeah, I mean, so the COVID situation does kind of change things, doesn't it, guys? I mean, for a lot of reasons, whether it's film, analytics, all this stuff, it's really difficult. But I think the guy that I keep gravitating towards is Drake London and Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson, is certainly all there. And then I think Drake London also, I thought Drake London was, you look at his stats, and he has the COVID shortened sophomore season and then the injury shortened junior season. And his freshman year, he played with, Amon-Ra and Michael Pittman. Like, he was up again, that was a dope team. I mean, he put up some pretty good numbers in that offense as a true freshman. A lot of true freshmen don't do much, even when there's plenty of room for them to succeed. In this situation, I didn't think he had a very clear runway to production, yet still, I'd have to look. I put up like 500 yards or something like that.
432.
432 as a true freshman, pretty dang good. And then the next year on a per game basis, he was basically 100 yards a game. And then, last year, just an absolute supernova of a season cut short by injury. So I think if he gets to play a full sophomore and junior season, we might have him a lot higher than he is right now.
And you got to like the fact that he's 20 years old. I love that. When he's drafted, he'll be a 20-year-old, and then he'll be 21 his entire rookie year. So, I love those kind of younger wide receivers with high draft capital. And I think that he's definitely got a chance to be the number one wide receiver off the board.
Yep, he's my wide receiver one.
All right, there you go. How about on the other end of it? Are there any players that you're looking at that Twitter seems to be real high on, or the draft community as a whole seems to be real high on, and you're looking at them and you're going, I don't see it at all?
Yeah, I don't know if I would say I don't see it at all, but the one guy that I'm there's two guys I'm dubious of. One of them was my former wide receiver one in the class, and that's Treylon Burks. I still love Treylon Burks, but I'm gun shy. I'm getting I used to like guys like Corey Davis and N'Keal Harry, and I've made these mistakes before, and I'm wondering if maybe Drake London or Treylon Burks is one of them. I'm just getting some of those vibes from Treylon. But if you talk about the anatomy, the guy that is the scariest would be Jameson Williams. Late breakout, had to transfer. Yeah, he had a big season 1 year. Now he's hurt. I mean, there's a lot of issues with him. He's going to be picked early. He's a first-round pick. He burns. He's a great player. But we'll see exactly what he is at the next level. If you're just trying to check boxes of the anatomy series, you'd have a few red X's next to Jameson Williams. I'm not totally out to answer the question that way, but I'm definitely a little bit gun shy. I would let him fall to me. I don't think I'd be reaching for him for that matter.
Sorry, Dan, how do injuries play? Like, do they factor in on this at all, or no? Not really.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I never really looked at it. It's probably just too much work, honestly. But I mean, really, because it's like, well, what did he injure? I mean, that's a lot.
Too many factors, right?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it'd be I'd put more noise into it than I would usage out of it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. How about at tight end? Are you seeing anybody in this class that you really, really like other than
Trey McBride?
Theo's getting all riled up right now.
He knows what I'm going to say.
I love McBride, but go ahead.
Do you guys know who I'm going to say?
Likely.
Nope.
Sorry, it was a play on words.
Oh, likely. Any guesses, you guys? JD?
I was thinking.
I actually don't know which way you're going with this.
I thought you were talking McBride, but
no, the guy that I'm looking at right now is Jelani Woods.
there you go.
Yeah, I mean,
I like this.
Yeah, because for me, the one thing that I want to see, like, look, we've been right and wrong with this a couple of times, but you want to see a big guy who can move really fast and athletic. I mean, you need size and strength. You need you need speed, you need burst, you need that stuff, So, that's where George Kittle comes from. George Kittle was a light producer in college, but was just a phenomenal athlete. And athleticism alone doesn't do it, because look at Mike Gesicki. Like, for whatever reason, he's a super athlete, but he can't seem to break free. Like, George Kittle can break free, right? I mean, yak is just there for him all day long. But, you got to be able to press the seam. You also have to be able to stay on the field with blocking, which is where I'm not sure about Jelani Woods. But he's also sort of a late comer to the tight end position, was a quarterback, then a wide receiver, now a tight end. So, his pedigree is a little checkered. I think he's going to miss the draft capital, but I'm okay with that. Darren Waller missed draft capital. He was a converted wide receiver. George Kittle missed draft capital because it's really, really hard to pick these tight ends, especially with lack of production. Jelani Woods is the guy that I think has that highest ceiling. I don't think that he's a sure bet in any way, but when I'm looking at tight ends, I don't want to, who wants the tight end 13 or 17, right? Who the hell wants that? Like, nobody cares. Like, whether you pick the tight end 9 or the tight end 18, it's going to be between one or 2 points a game. Like, right? It doesn't really matter, right? But to have a Darren Waller, Travis Kelce, George Kittle changes your team where you're now dominating. Mark Andrews, right? So you're looking for just this all ceiling. I'm only looking at ceiling when I'm drafting tight ends. That's it. Especially in a rookie draft. What the hell do I need?
Forget tight ends. I'm looking at that. I'm looking for that in all my rookies. That's all I'm looking for, rookies.
Sure.
If they don't give me ceiling, I don't even want them.
Yeah, exactly. But especially tight ends. Even quarterback. You might want some floor in quarterback. Kirk Cousins is useful, but there's just no use for a floor tight end. 6 points. There we go, baby.
The tight end premium guys, we're loving this. Woods. I like that's a writer downer for me. I got down on paper.
Yeah.
Well, Woods is huge and fast, and he has one of the better athletic profiles we've seen in a while from a tight end.
Yeah.
I know you're a West Coast guy. I want to get your opinion on one more tight end, Dulcich from UCLA.
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't dug in too deep on Dulcich, but everybody seems to like his big playability. And I think that's kind of a big factor for me. Like, if you look at the anatomy of a tight end, it's like, where does it say? It's like yards per reception greater than 14. I think that's a single season best, right? I'm not looking at it, but that's where he has 2 seasons like that. So Dulcich is able to break it, man. He has a 20 yard per reception season last year, and then this past year was 17.3. So yeah, I like him a lot. I think the size is fine. The athleticism is there. What did he run? I got to look that up too, to be honest with you.
4.7.
4.7. Yeah, so he's within range. That's perfect. So yeah, I like Dulcich a lot. It'll be I like him a lot. I think he absolutely profiles as a pass catcher, not a blocker or a backup blocker type. So he profiles as the type of guy that if he can, carve out a role, and look, they only need to be able to block like above average. Like, one of the things that hurts Mike Gesicki, because he's actually a really good contested catch player, and like, he's a good player, but the problem is he literally can't line up in line. He can't do it. They can't line him up in line. He just gets blown up. So he's really a wide receiver. He lines up either in the slot or wide almost 80% of the time, does Gesicki. And so that limits his utility, to become a top 5, top 4 elite player. So that's my concern with Dulcich. Not that he can't play the wide receiver position, quote unquote, but can he actually play a full snap share at the tight end position? That remains to be seen.
Some sweet FFPC info right there for the listeners.
Right, exactly. So what about we kind of glossed over a quarterback a little bit, but let's circle back around to quarterback. I mean, everybody seems to be, if they like anyone in the class, it seems to either be Pickett or Willis. Where are you at on those two? Is there one of the other ones that you see as being a little bit more of a dark horse that you like, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, well, Willis has all the ceiling. So, when we see Willis, it's all the tools and all the ceiling, right? It's like, it's people compare him to Josh Allen. I don't think that's necessarily fair. I mean, like, first of all, I don't ever want to take a guy compared to Josh Allen because Josh Allen is the biggest outlier of all time, right? Like a guy whose rookie season throws 52% completions. Next year is like 56 or 7, like pretty much going to be out of the league if he continues on this pace, and then throws nearly 70%. Never been done, never will be done. Like, this is just not going to happen in the NFL. Like, to have 2 full seasons under 58 and then a season almost at 70% completion percentage, take your team to the playoffs, you're a fucking stud. Like, Josh Allen, forget about it. But Malik Willis has that rushing upside where, I would more compare him sort of like to Trey Lance, where we're thinking, hey, if this guy can hit, if he can actually, play the quarterback position, I think we have a dual threat player that's going to be great for fantasy. It's like, if Mac Jones hits as a quarterback, he's still, he could be awesome, but he's only going to be, quarterback 12 to 16, in a given season, which is fine, especially in Superflex. That's very useful. But if Malik Willis is quote unquote good at football, good at quarterback, he's going to be a top 5, fantasy finisher, right? So that's where Malik Willis is. I'm not sure that there's a lot of red flags with him. Obviously, transferring couldn't beat out, the competition where he was at, and then went to a small school, threw some picks. Level of comp was not very good, but his team sucked. Like, a lot of factors there. He was great at his pro day, great at the Senior Bowl. Everybody fucking loves him. He's obviously a stud in terms of his personality. So I love Malik Willis, and I'm willing to take Malik Willis very high in a Superflex rookie draft, just on upside, as JD pointed out.
So where are you taking him?
102. Right now, I mean, it's him or Breece Hall, 101, 102 to me, and then you can talk about whatever else you're going to do. And it doesn't mean that I'm that confident that Malik Willis is going to hit. It's just you can't pass on that opportunity cost. And if you want to trade it, then trade it, I guess. But I think it's worth taking him and sitting on him because I don't think he's going to lose value. So, you can kind of play it by ear once you have him on your roster, but I think he's worth the 102. Kenny Pickett's the one that scares me, especially according to the Anatomy series, late breakout, old prospect. He does have a lot of experience, so for that reason, he might just be an average player, but he definitely does not profile as an elite quarterback finisher, so he's a little scary, especially if you have to spend an early first-round pick for him. I'd much rather wait on guys like Desmond Ridder, and my sort of sleeper is Sam Howell. I don't know what the hell happened to Sam Howell. I thought he was a good player. There's some sort of NFL guys who say he's good, some that most are off him and saying that he's a second-round talent. I don't know. Again, maybe I'm the guy who's right about this and I should be getting those millions of dollars from one of those 32 teams, or I'm just missing it altogether, because I think Sam Howell, for me, I think he's my quarterback 2 in this class, but not if he doesn't get draft capital. Then I have to readjust. So if you ask me to rank him, it'd be, Willis, Sam Howell, probably Ridder, and then Pickett or Corral. I'm not sure. Corral probably still ahead of Pickett. I don't know that I love Pickett that much, but he's going to get the draft capital, which will flop everything around. But yeah, Sam Howell hits a lot of these. Sam Howell is a Anatomy series darling, so he's definitely a sleeper for sure.
Who does it remind you of?
Mitch Trubisky.
Hell of a class.
Circa 2022 Pittsburgh, or
sorry, I mean it's true though, right? Like, he's not exactly. I mean, he doesn't really remind me of Trubisky, but I mean, he kind of does a little bit. I mean, Trubisky was a one-year wonder though, so I mean, if you're gonna compare Sam Howell, I mean, the rushing upside is what's interesting, but like maybe a Jimmy G with a little bit more girth and rushing ability, I guess. I don't know. Like, yeah, he could be a pretty good player. I mean, it's funny. You get people comparing Kenny Pickett to like Andy Dalton and thinking that's a slight. Like, honestly, if Kenny Pickett can have Andy Dalton's career, you should fucking thank the good Lord.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
No doubt.
I wanted to touch back on running back. We talked a little bit about Kenneth Walker, who is your running back too.
Yeah.
Is there a running back 3 and 4 you want to touch on, or is it a significant tier break for you?
I have I have heart eye emojis, whatever they are, the little hearts in your eyes for Rachaad White. He's, look, the draft capital again, but he's actually in some ways I want to make him my RB2, but I also know what projected draft capital is. I've heard of this, so therefore I can't, because I just can't let myself do that because it might look really stupid when he gets picked in the 5th round. I'm ready for it. By the way, I'm ready for Rachaad White to be like, I don't know, picked by Dallas in the late 5th, and I'm like, what the fuck? Just I can't handle it. But yeah, I mean, there's, by the way, also, running backs. There's not a lot of good running back landing spots in this draft. Have you guys noticed this?
Yeah,
we were just looking at the beginning of the 2nd round as like the first 10 picks in that 2nd round. We're really hoping one of them will land there.
Yeah, we were talking about the Jets, because we were talking about the Jets with Michael Carter, and kind of cautiously optimistic is how I described it.
Right. Is that a great landing spot? I mean, that's an open landing spot, but it's not great. Like, none of the open landing spots are great.
You're sharing.
None of the great landing spots are open.
You're sharing at best.
Atlanta's interesting to me. Atlanta's an interesting landing spot.
It's open, but it's probably like the worst roster in the NFL. Yeah. I mean, bottom 3 or 4.
Not a lot of scoring
opportunity galore.
Awful.
Galore.
Their offensive line is terrible. The quarterback is bottom. I mean, he was literally the last guy signed. Like, he's literally, I mean, I like Mariota, but I mean, come on. I can't tell you he's top. I mean, he's bottom 5 or 10 at the best. It's like no weapons other than Pitts. The defense is terrible. I don't know, man. It's like open, but it's not a good spot. All the open spots are terrible, and all the taken spots are taken. It's rough, man. So Brees could even find himself in a weird situation. What if Chicago or something drafts Brees, and you're like, okay, like what the Raiders, or like just like okay, now what happens, right? So like, this is why it gets very strange once the draft happens, because we all want it to be like, we just picture the perfect landing spot for everyone, but that ain't what's going to happen.
Theo, you asked about Rachaad, right?
Oh, love Rachaad.
Yeah, Rachaad, and then.
No, I was going to say, because Dan and I fight over the other White usually when we're doing drafts. So does Amir White do anything for you, Jax, or he's still one of these kind of like second tier guys that's kind of flat?
So Rachaad White, excuse me, yeah. So Zamir White, I had Noah Hills on the. You guys know Noah?
Yeah, I've heard of him. I haven't really talked to him, but
Noah's great, man. He's new to the scene. He had less than 1,000 followers maybe a couple weeks ago, and he's got over 2,000 right now. He's not, but he's doing work for Breakout Finder and Player Profiler. He does a weekly thing on BDG. Here I am giving him a plug. A weekly YouTube thing.
Is he cheaper to get on than you? That's what.
Yes. Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Way cheaper. But listen, he does this YouTube BDGE. He's written he did some studies where like he basically took player efficiency compared to their teammates, right? Because I just mentioned how yards per carry are like, nonsense basically. Because you can have like, remember Darrell Henderson was like 8.5 yards a carry, but you watch those Memphis games and like, it looked like it was 11 on 7. I was like, wait, he's just gone. There's nobody there. So, like 8.5 yards a carry there versus, some teams playing up against Georgia's defense. It's like, dude had 5 yards a carry. It's an unbelievable feat, right? So, but he looks at compared to their teammates, compared to all these different things. And he absolutely killed Isaiah Spiller, absolutely killed him. And then of course, Isaiah Spiller killed himself by not being able to jump over a shoebox, but right. And I talked about Zamir White, cause I was like, man, Zamir White, I was expecting, because I looked at the data, before the combine, I was expecting a guy that was going to be a 4.6. He runs a 4.4. I think that's just a little bit of noise. He didn't catch the ball in college. I don't think that all of a sudden a team is going to think this is a 3-down player. I think he's going to be a useful NFL player who can navigate the line of scrimmage. I think he's a good running back, right? So I think Zamir White is one of those guys you pop on the tape, you're like, oh, this guy's good, man. This guy's good. But for whatever reason, he's not explosive, doesn't catch the football. And I don't really care for that guy. Like, do you want Jordan Howard? Like, I don't want Jordan Howard, right? Guy doesn't get the football. So for me, I'd rather gamble on a guy like Rachaad White, who has, Jamal Charles ceiling. I'm not saying he's Jamal Charles, but like he has that type of like, holy shit, game breaker, catching passes all over the place, big play, right? I'd rather gamble on that than have the money in the bank at 1%. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what Zamir White is. He's just a 3-year bond where you're like, oh, cool. So I don't think he's got much ceiling, if that answers your question.
Is there a running back that maybe you're higher on in this class that we haven't discussed?
Man, so I had forgotten a couple of. First of all, Kevin Harris, right? So Kevin Harris played, in the SEC and was really dope, and then hurt his back and was kind of awful this past year. But he has the profile. I mean, he's got the anatomy of an elite running back body. He's got some of that early production. He's got the pass catching. So, I mean, I don't know what he runs. He hasn't run yet, so we'll see what he runs. I love Kevin Harris. Again, just as an upside play, guy who can catch the football and take carries on first and second down, goal line, etc. The other guy that you guys are going to love this one. Me and Noah Hills were talking today, and he reminded me of this kid, Bryant Kobach. Have you heard of this guy?
Not on him.
Bryant Kobach is out of Toledo, and he was so good. Let me give you his. Hold on. Let me give you his. Bryant.
He's not even on the list, bro.
He's nowhere. I
hear Elijah Moore, James Robinson. Give me that name. Give me that name again.
This is him, Bryant Kobach. He's a 4-year player at Toledo. He had, as a true freshman, almost 1,000 yards, 6 yards a pop, 14 touchdowns. He had 1,100, almost 1,200 yards, 6.1 as a sophomore. Then COVID, whatever. He was still good. He was almost 100 yards a game. And then last year, his final season at Toledo, so he could, enter the draft, 1,400 yards rushing, 6.7 a carry, 30 catches for over 11 yards a catch, 18 total touchdowns. Like, the kid was dope. And then he went out and ran like a 4.5, jumped 40 inches. Like, this kid is electric. He's 5'10", 215, I think he is. Like, he's perfect. And it's whispers, it's crickets, it's nothing. Now, yeah, he's the James Robinson, Elijah Mitchell guy that also could be the, like, Alex Barnes, like, whatever. Like, he looks good on paper in a lot of ways. He also looks good on film. I remember when I was digging deep early, he was one of these guys I was digging for. And I just kind of ignored him. And then Noah Hills brought him up today on the pod, and I was like, yes, I remember this guy. And so yeah, he could be an absolute zero nobody. But if you're looking for a deep stash, I like Bryant Kobach a lot.
You heard it here first, everyone.
I like it. Yeah, I hope you guys got your pen and papers.
How do you spell that name?
Tons of running. I took a guess. I went Kobach. Is that even close?
Kobach.
Oh, CK. Oh, yeah. That's what I had there. Yeah.
So we'll get Jax to put his Venmo in on a tweet or something. So I'm going to Venmo him at the end of the season.
Takes a cut. He takes a cut. Any winnings?
Big time. Yeah. Woods and Kobach hit. Your Venmo and Jax.
Yep.
All right, guys, we gotta give a quick word to our friends over at the FFPC, because they got just like the show tonight, man. They got a shit ton of goodness going on right now, guys. There's 313 spots left. I didn't even realize it was down to that little, so I gotta jump in a couple more of these. But $125 buy-in, never too early best ball. myffpc.com. Go sign up right now if you're not already signed up. It's a no-brainer, guys. This is the best ball tournament. You see it right there, $25K for first. The main event right now is available to sign up. You've got $1 million, guys. $1 million for winning fantasy football. You can save right now, as you can see on the screen, $100. Save up to $500 on each additional. Early bird ends on May 31st, so you got a couple months for that. And of course, Best ball leagues are always flying on the FFPC, starting at $5 all the way up to a gajillion. And then you've got the football guys. You can start registering right now, 500 grand for first, $500,000 with the early bird specials and the dynasty startups. You guys heard us chatting a bit in the intro. I'm getting the itch. I've been very disciplined, aka busy with life, but just trying to not get into too many dynasties. But I got to draft soon, man. I got to draft a startup soon. So you guys probably feel the same. Check out myffpc.com, guys. If you're not already on the site, send one of us a quick DM, Theo, Dan, or myself, or at goatdistrict on Twitter, and we'll hook you up with a sign-up bonus.
All right, there you go. So let's kind of dive into the rookie class and the draft in general a little bit more. And just basically, Jax, what's your approach on this year's rookie draft? You see it as deep or shallow? Are you more in, more out? Are there particular places where you want to be in or be out? Just kind of give us your 2 cents on it.
Yeah, I'd made some notes on this too. Let me check my checks notes. Don't you put that in parentheses? Checks notes.
Checks notes.
That's a thing, right? We do that.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm out on this draft, right? I mean, in general, I think look, put it this way: in most spots, like whatever pick it is, if I could get the 2023 version of that same pick, even straight across, I'd just probably take it. Like if I'm at the 103 and you're like, you can just get the 103 next year if you want, I'd be like, okay, right? So I think that's generally what I'm trying to say, is that it's a down class in general overall. Certainly the quarterbacks is one of the worst quarterback class as prospects ever. Doesn't mean that we could have 4 Hall of Famers. It's possible. But as a prospect going into it, bad quarterback class. So it's kind of down, bad. We have 1 elite running back prospect. We normally have more than that. Doesn't mean we're only going to have 1 elite running back, but it means we have 1 elite prospect. So everything's down. I think I've been playing it like, and I haven't been aggressively doing this, but I am open to doing this. And in a couple of spots, I've done it. If I can trade my first round pick for a really good established player, like not bullshit, not lying to yourself, but a really good player, maybe even if you have to add something, I would use my first round pick in that way. I would also, the play I've been liking to make is if I can trade my first round pick this year, maybe not the 101, 102, I'd want a little bit more for that high of leverage, but even at the 103, if I can trade that pick for a 23 first plus like moving down around in this one, so like the 103 to the 203, but get a 23 first, that's a great trade. And a lot of people might be listening and saying, I can't do that in my league. It's like, well, maybe you can. There's 11 other guys or so, depending on how many people. There's maybe one who would consider something like that. And especially if I would target the guy who thinks he's awesome, because you could be like, dude, you got an early one, I'm getting your late one next year. And if you value any future picks as early or late, don't do that. I see that all the time in like the likely late. It's like, how the fuck do you know? Like the guy's team might be good, but like, McCaffrey, you could have had McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, all these players. You'd have busted out last year, right? So it's not just how good the team is, it's what happened. I mean, we know it's all luck in a single season sense. So yeah, if I can get any 23 first and move back maybe around in this draft, I think you're just as well. Cause like what you get in the, like point taken is like, they might trade up to the 103 and take Kenny Pickett. You might get Desmond Ridder or Sam Howell at the 203. I don't know. Would you trade one of those guys for each other and get a 23 first for your troubles? Of course you would, right? Would you trade Garrett Wilson for Sky Moore and get a 23 first also? Of course you would, right? Like, I'm not saying that'll work out specifically, but in value it does. So, I would definitely try and make that move if possible, especially when you're on the clock, because then people are going to maybe overvalue that. Maybe you can get even more, for your money. So yeah, I would definitely try and sell out if I could. Some of the spots I like to be in, I just did a dynasty startup. I did draft the 101. You take the picks in the startup. I took the 101 and the 106. I like the 106 because I think there's a little bit of a tier break after that 106, potentially. Obviously, after the draft, that could fucking change it again. But, I look at the Malik Willis, Breece Hall is sort of a tier right up there as a pretty clear 1-2. And then I love Garrett Wilson, Treylon Burks, and Drake London, as well as Kenneth Walker as a nice little next tier. And so I think I'm going to get at least one of those guys at 6. So I like the 101, the 106. I like those spots. And then I actually took the turn. I took the 112, 201 because, again, I think there's a lot of, Chris Olave, all the quarterbacks. There's going to be a pretty good set. Jameson Williams might fall to me. I like those sections of the draft right now. You asked me, and that's what I actually did in a startup. Strategically took those spots.
Scott Cobe in the chat. I'm guessing he's not talking Superflex. Who are your 2 favorite end of the first round type guys? You mentioned Sky Moore as an early second rounder you like. Are there any guys that you are highly recommending people target and kind of like that? It's kind of like the 110, the 111, and the 112. Nobody's really excited about this year. Is there anybody that you think people should be targeting?
No, because here's the thing: unless he's drafting tomorrow, don't worry about who you're targeting. You shouldn't be targeting anybody, because if you put a target on someone, now there's going to be new information, and you're going to have take lock on Chris Olave or something, or whoever, like George Pickens. You're going to be like, I want George Pickens. Well, just relax. Put together your top. If he has the 111 and the 112, put together your top 12 players and start to figure out who you like. I can tell you who I like, but that will likely change. Or no, that will change when the draft happens. It's not going to be the same. So I might have and I used to do this. One of the ways I got into this business, if you will, and why we started the Undroppables, was because when I first got into this, all I wanted to do was have my own rankings, because I felt like there was value to me as a player, not as an analyst, as a player, to have my own rankings. Because if you don't have your own rankings, then you get confused when you're on the clock. You're like, shit, who do I like better? Right. So by doing your own rankings, you then, have to make that choice in the privacy of your own home, right? You get to just make that choice right now. Like, who do I like better? Sam Howell or, right. And so I put together my own top 12 if I'm this guy, based off of, you can copy my rankings. I wouldn't do that. Make your own. And then when the draft happens, you'll have had some sort of foundation of what the hell you think. So that way you can apply that new information, which is now landing spot, which is both how highly they were drafted and to where, and allow that to maybe affect your rankings a little bit, move guys around a bit. So yeah, I wouldn't lock in or target anybody. I would just make my rankings. For me, I could rattle off my rankings and tell you who's 11 and 12, and maybe that's helpful for you. I'm happy to do that, but I don't think that's what I would do if that's helpful.
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. And when you make your own rankings, also you have nobody to blame but yourself if you happen to not go by them.
Yeah, it's true. Yes.
Like I make my own rankings for best ball. I don't do it as much for Dynasty, but for best ball, I'm definitely making my own rankings.
Yeah.
And
I'll rattle it off, right? So I have Breece Hall, Drake London. This is a single quarterback. Breece Hall, Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Kenneth Walker, Treylon Burks, Jameson Williams, and Chris Olave back to back. That's 7.
Yep.
Right? That's 7. George Pickens, 8. Rashad White, 9. Sky Moore, 10. Isaiah Spiller, and then that's 11. So
damn, you got Sky Moore high.
I like Sky Moore a lot. I think that's one of the questions I think you were going to ask is who's got that sort of ceiling there. Sky Moore's on my show sheet that you gave me. Yeah, I like Sky Moore a lot. But you know what? Again, if he gets drafted early 3rd and it's like, whoa, maybe he's going to drop a couple of spots, because I really like Jalen Tolbert. I like Jahan Dotson. I group things together. So as I do that, I also group them together. I'll split. Yeah, I'll split a group by with a running back. I'll put the first 3 wide receivers, then I'll put a running back, and then be like, those are 3 guys. I definitely tier-based draft. And once you get to the draft, the NFL draft, it's going to change again. It really is. So, just take it easy now. Unless your draft is today, then you really have to figure it out. But other than that, let it all happen, take in the information, and then make a good choice after the draft.
I don't even need a draft. My rankings change daily anyways.
Mhm.
Just in my own head, you just think about things, something happens, you read something new, you get, someone awesome like yourself on and change your, bring up a new name, and it shifts things around, man. If it's not changing, you're not paying attention and you're not doing as much work as you should be.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, be open to the new information coming in, because there's still a lot of it yet to come.
Like water, baby. Like water.
Yeah. I mean, you might hear, like I did today. I literally had Noah Hills on, and I was moving we only talked running backs today. The show should pop tomorrow, but it was all running backs, and he was just changing my feelings on. I was moving my rankings like crazy while I'm doing the pod. I was like, yeah, totally. I was totally doing that. So I agree 100%. Yeah.
Theo, it sounds like we need to have Noah.
Maybe we'll give him a shout just for the toe back.
Yes.
Yeah, he's great, man. You'll love him. He's fun. Have him on.
We'll do it. So we just kind of talked our way through the non-super flex. With the super flex, where are you slotting your quarterbacks in?
Malik Willis, we talked about up there, and then because I don't have draft capital and I don't love Kenny Pickett. If I loved Kenny Pickett, he'd be up there. I don't know where, somewhere in that Drake London to Chris Olave tier. But as of right now, I have all of them after the Chris Olave, right? So it's like Breece Hall, Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Treylon Burks, Kenneth Walker, then the Jameson Williams, Chris Olave. And then I basically have all four quarterbacks right after that. I have Ritter, Howell, Pickett, and Corral after Pickens. Like, they're right there. I see a lot of mock drafts, like mock rookies, where we, where a bunch of people will get together and pick, and these quarterbacks all fall. And the reason they all fall is because they don't have a home yet. Like, if Desmond Ritter were to get drafted number 9 overall by the Seahawks, he's going to fly up the board. You know what I mean? If he goes second round to whatever, it's like, then he's not. Like, so it's going to have to be based off the draft and where they go. And I think guys are just unsure which one are good, if any. And so why do I want to take one of these suckers in a mock? But if it was a real rookie draft happening right now in a super flex league, honestly, at every pick, you have to consider which quarterbacks are available. And so I'm a little shy with them now just because I'm trying to show that I don't think they're very good. But I also, because people look at my rankings, but for me, it's like, I know I need to perhaps squeeze them up as we actually get on the clock and start picking rookies after the NFL draft. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Scott's got a question, but I think you've hit Malik.
Yeah.
Pretty in depth there.
Yep, for sure.
You guys want to kind of go more macro dynasty with Jax, with Scott? Just any more rookie inquiries for him before we get the macro out?
I think we got the rookie stuff.
Yeah, I think he crushed the rookies.
That was great, man.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed that and had your pens and papers out. Hopefully you smashed the like to support the show and the content. Let's take a bit of a macro level, Dan. We've been in best ball. We've been tied up in more redraft. Let's get deep into the dyno. We're talking rookies all the time. I kind of want to, there's guys that we haven't talked a lot about. So let's spring them on our friend Scott here.
All right, sounds good. So yeah, one of the things I'm always trying to figure out is which veteran players I think have significant risk of being torpedoed by a rookie draft pick. And I try to get rid of them before the draft. If I feel like I can get good value right now, but I won't later. Do you have any veteran players that you're real leery of, where you're looking at a team and the draft capital they have and the players that would be available there, and you're going, yeah, this guy might be pretty risky?
Yeah, absolutely. I have one that I'm going to save for a moment because it's my guy. But there's this theory or philosophy that, if you're a wide receiver, you can't really be eviscerated, right? Like Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup were surprised when they picked CeeDee Lamb, who's this elite level rookie wide receiver, but they were both fine, because there's enough targets. They all got 100 targets. all three of them got 100 targets the first year. It's fine. No big deal. Whereas, so wide receivers are at less risk than running backs. Running backs are at extreme risk. Obviously, the quarterbacks, too. We know who they are, Jared Goff. I mean, these are really low-hanging fruit. And because they're also low-hanging players, they're at the bottom of your roster. But so those guys are also kind of obvious. The ones that I like to look at are the running backs. Because when, I call it the Kerryon Johnson rule. Man, everybody thought Kerryon Johnson was a top 10 dynasty running back, right? People are shaking their heads like, I don't remember that. I remember.
Oh, I remember.
Mm-hmm. And he got eviscerated. Same thing with Marlon Mack. All these guys, they just got absolutely eviscerated. And so an elite level running back can come in and kill a running back on his team. Marlon Mack, boom, you're dead. Now Marlon Mack will resurface, of course. I understand they can come back, but in that immediacy, they can lose a huge amount of value. So who are those guys right now? Well, some of them are very obvious, right? But I made a little list because, look, here's the other thing. There's only one elite back. There's only one Breece Hall. So if Breece Hall hits any of these spots, he'll kill him. If Kenneth Walker lands in any of these spots, he'll damage him real bad. If any of the other guys go there, who knows, right? I mean, maybe, but probably not. Zamir White's not going to go kill anybody. He's just going to hurt their, first and second down workload or whatever, But here's the guys who are in some danger, but there's not enough guys to kill them all. So there'll probably only be one or none, maybe one or two. But CEH, his value's already in the tank for sure. It's not as high as it once was, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire, look, if somehow Kansas City with one of those two picks is like Breece Hall, what the hell are you going to do with CEH? He's dead, right? Everybody's getting pretty excited about Devin Singletary.
He's already dead to some.
Exactly, he is. I understand that, but he's deader.
He's deader.
Yeah, the old meme, stop hitting, he's dead. But Devin Singletary is another one. People are he's on the rise. And you know what? If they don't draft a running back, Singletary could be a really nice player next year. I'll admit that. That ceiling is there. That's a fun little guy. No pun intended. But the downside is, again, where does Buffalo pick? Late first round. They could easily snap up Kenneth Walker or Breece Hall in that spot and vaporize Devin Singletary. Chase Edmonds is obvious. He's one of those guys that I think you can trade high on right now. So, put him in a package with a couple other guys. Sometimes another one, you guys, I love the open. It says you make these trades, you make them all complex. That's the ticket. You got to make those fuckers complex. You put CEH and, Edmonds and a first rounder. You're like, wow, I'm getting all this shit. This is great. And they're like, meanwhile, you just got DeAndre Swift, right? So you got to make them complex for sure. But CEH Singletary, Chase Edmonds is easy. A couple of the one, Michael Carter's another one, of course, right? Another huge one. A couple big ones that maybe people aren't thinking about is that that draft class of Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, and David Montgomery. They all have a little bit of upside here going into next year. David Montgomery looked good last year. I think he's probably the safest of them. Miles Sanders probably the most fragile. But honestly, if Breece Hall were to go to any of those three spots, he's better than those guys, and he probably eats in at least 50-50, if not more. Obviously Rashad Penny, but doesn't really have much value. One of the other ones that I hate to mention is Elijah Mitchell. No draft capital. He's a 6th-round pick. If they make a move for a guy that has higher draft capital, that could be a problem for Elijah Mitchell as well. So those are the guys there. I got a couple wide receivers, but I'll let you guys respond to that one.
I love the Josh Jacobs call. I sold my last Josh Jacobs share. I just think it's an interesting take, especially with the new coaching staff. And I've seen a number of CEH trades go down. If you're holding CEH in a non-Superflex Dynasty league, what are you taking for CEH right now if it's picks? Are you cashing out for how low are you going to cash out?
Early second, or it's got to be first? Early second's good?
Yeah, again, I'd rather not just get an early second. I'd rather package him, and get something.
Put him with
If you're doing it straight up, I would take an early second because right now I have kind of a big tier of rookies that goes across the late first and early second. So to me, it's if I'm getting in that same tier, then I'm probably going to be fine with it.
Yeah, depending on the format, I'm always happy to package things together and try and, get the best asset. It's kind of, it's kind of dynasty game theory 101. I'm sure you guys do the same thing, but a lot of times people will ask you, well, would you take this for them? Well, value-wise, yes, that's his value, but I wouldn't do that trade probably. I probably wouldn't trade CH for a lone second. Not to say that it's not his value. It's his value. It's 100% what
unless it's FFPC cut down day, right?
Well, yeah, I played, when my first Dynasty League, I commissioned. I never had heard of FFPC. I basically did that format. As a matter of fact, I explained my league to someone who was, who knew what the fuck they were doing. They're like, oh, like FFPC. And I was like, yeah, sure. What the fuck are you talking about? Then I learned what FFPC was. I was like, yeah, I do that. That was fucking what I thought of. So I didn't even know. Yeah, I didn't have any idea.
I created that shit, man. Come on.
I did kind of, but I didn't actually, In my head, I did, yeah.
All the best ideas are invented several times in several different places.
That's exactly right, yeah. Like the resurrection, whatever. I'm sorry, all you. Look it up. It's fine. Listen.
You can't handle the truth.
So good. I dropped a resurrection joke. What the fuck is wrong with me? 80% of the world's population. What am I doing? I'm killing myself. Speaking of resurrection, Gabe Davis is another guy who could absolutely be eviscerated at the wide receiver position. There's not a ton of them that could really be harmed, but like they already have Jamison Crowder, who's probably going to play the slot. They have Steph Diggs, who is going to be there. Presumably, although there's been a lot of wide receiver movement, he hasn't been traded yet, as far as I know. Checks notes, but if they bring in like the late first round, they pick a Treylon Burks, Jamison Williams, Chris Olave. Yikes! That really hurts my Gabe Davis, and I have a lot of Gabe Davis because I drafted him absolutely everywhere. Yeah, that was perfect, Kyle. That was absolutely perfect.
Kyle.
Yeah, rock solid. But I have a lot of them in draft, but I didn't pick him in a startup I did recently. I felt like he's a little too risky at that value. The other guy is Amon-Ra. I don't think he's going to be eviscerated, but again, that could be a team late first. They've got that pick. I don't think they're going wide receiver, quite frankly. But you never know how they play it. They could absolutely add, George Pickens there, which all of a sudden they have Chark, Pickens, Hawkinson, Swift, or whatever. You're like, whoa, all right, there's a target squeeze on Amon-Ra. So, there's a couple of guys like that, but by and large, it's the running backs.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And that's one of the reasons why I'm a little bit more reluctant to, to trade guys like that or trade for guys like that at this time of year. There's just some things I'd rather wait for the rookie draft to shake out or for the NFL draft to shake out first, so we can kind of see who's safe, who's not safe. If you're talking about like a CeeDee Lamb, I don't think he's going to be really affected that much even if they, take Treylon Burks there or something like that.
Yeah, I agree. Exactly right. That's right. You're looking at the guys that are right on the edge, the wide receiver 2 and 3 on a team, not the wide receiver 1. I mean, I guess Waddle was hurt by Tyreek Hill, but not really. Hey, I'll ask you this. I had JJ Zacharysen's in a league with me. I shouldn't have said this because now you're going to know who it was.
Let me ask you this. Dropper.
No, but listen, I should have said it after. When I tell the story the other way, it's better to tell you who it was after. Who do you like right now in Dynasty? Chase Claypool or Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Claypool.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's actually I'll take it back. I think I go the other way. I think it's close. I think it's super close.
There it is.
I think it's super close.
The thought experiment. So I was offered Chase Claypool for Amon-Ra, and I was ready to click the button.
Straight up one.
Yes, because I was ready to click the button. I was like, I'm going to take Claypool. He's ranked higher. And I was like, wait a second. Now, first of all, it was JJ that sent it to me. I was like,
yeah.
I said, wait a second. And I just thought about these two assets, and I was like, I don't think this is a smart deal. I think this is a smart trade offer because you have converging values, right? You have a guy who's falling and a guy who's rising, and Amon-Ra's going up. Now, granted, the draft could hurt him, but probably not, man. And then Claypool, who's been falling, and he's literally just trading similar assets, but they're kind of, converging. I was like, what a fucking smart trade offer, And because we all sort of would think reflex like Claypool, but then you think, don't think that's correct. I have to think about this some more. And it probably isn't Claypool. Like, go look at Claypool's.
Well, Claypool's like the red zone guy, whereas St. Brown's more. He's getting targets. I don't know about this new offense with DJ Shark and stuff, but again, we don't know what's going on with Claypool either. So it's very close, man.
Claypool's done nothing outside of that one game where he scored like 7 touchdowns, right? I mean, like
there's 4, but yeah,
I know.
Yeah,
and one rushing. I think it was 5 total.
That's why I went like this. It was 4.
Yeah.
It's so funny if Amon-Ra St. Brown was just drafted 10 picks earlier, the whole offseason perspective on him would be so different. It's just so funny.
He crushed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of it too is, you can think about it in terms of like, Claypool, what's his ceiling? It's probably more like Mike Williams than anything. And if you take a look at Amon-Ra St. Brown, what's his ceiling? Maybe a little closer to Keenan Allen.
Yeah,
exactly. Right. So, you look at it like that and all of a sudden you're going, Amon-Ra St. Brown probably makes more sense there for sure.
Yep.
Quick OTC. I wanted to do a few now, but I'm trying to keep
these
them.
Are great.
Let me throw like some in there just because we're talking about these guys. Do you guys want ASB or Brandon Cooks?
Gosh, that's a very difficult one. I think that if I was a top 2 roster in my league, I'd want Brandon Cooks. If I had a little bit of question marks and I was building longer, I would go with Amon-Ra. But I think Brandon Cooks is he's always underrated, and I think that he's always a safe bet.
And I'm going to take Amon-Ra pretty easily here. I love Cooks, but I'll take Amon-Ra there because I think he ended up with darn near as many points last year. And he's just on the way up, and Cooks is going to be harder and harder to sell.
Yeah, it's Amon-Ra pretty easily for me too, although I've been traditionally too low on Brandon Cooks the entire time. I've been too low on him almost the entire time, except for when he was coming out. I liked him, but just the new team, bad team, concussion. There's just been so many red flags. Like if you simulate his career this many times, like, I don't know, man, he's a hell of a player. And the concussion thing, I feel like it should have caught up with him 2 seasons ago, and it never did. So good for him. I'm really happy for him. I love him as a player and all that. But for me, value-wise on a dynasty roster, a very, very comfortably Amon-Ra.
That was a good one, though, JD.
Yeah, and I was looking it up because I was wanting to see how close it was. Amon-Ra had 223.3 in PPR, and Brandon Cooks had 231.8. So they were 7.5 points apart.
Wow.
Brandon Cooks had 133 targets. Amon-Ra had 119. I mean, they're basically like the same player, but one of them is 4 years younger.
Yeah, one of them did it in half a season almost. I mean,
yeah,
really.
yeah, and that too. Yeah, it took Amon-Ra a while to ramp up. So
yep,
for sure.
I got some running back ones, but we could do that. We could do that after the questions if you guys want.
Go fast with them. Let's do it. Let's just go rapid fire with them. Those are fun.
You guys,
no analysis, just answer.
You guys just throw the answer out. Do you guys want CEH or Penny? Oh, I love it. I love the silence. Beautiful.
I'll take Penny. And I'll hate myself for it.
It's probably
You're one of these guys. You hate yourself,
I bought Penny recently, and I can't see myself trying to buy.
Oh, what was it like? What can you tell? Was there a price or was it a package?
I sent a second rounder for Penny on a team that should be very good, and I needed running back depth.
I don't hate it.
Good. I'll take CEH. I've got him 25 and Penny 28 in my rankings, so I'll stick to my rankings. Although it's close, it's a good one. You made me think.
Sanders or Madison?
JD, why are you doing this to me?
JD, you're going.
I'm taking Miles Sanders. He's got the bigger upside this year, and he's. This is a really, make or break season for Miles Sanders. But Madison, I think, is actually a really nice little target.
I think he's undervalued.
He's still young, and he can find his way to another team next year. But there's no guarantee he's going to have a backfield to himself next year either.
True,
even
right.
when he gets free. So
it's probably Sanders just because he's got a clear opportunity. Even though I think it's going to be another muddled year of split work in Philly. How about you, Dan?
Yeah, the same. I think Sanders. I mean, especially in best ball where I don't have to try to figure this shit out in week to week. But honestly, I mean, in a managed league where I'm having to pick starters, I might just prefer to have Madison, where I know either yes he's going in or no he isn't.
Yep.
I'll do a quick tight end one just because we talked rookie tight ends. Dulcich. How do you say his name? Dulcich?
Dulcich?
Dulcich
or Komet?
Komet.
Just because we've seen it, tight end.
Not close.
Closer to production.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Take the sure thing. I mean, Komet's got a little upside too. He was an anatomy darling as well. He's a good tight end prospect and he's literally the second target on an offense right now. I mean,
right. Exactly.
Yeah,
he could easily be one of those tight ends that gets 100 targets, and if you can find guys like that, I mean, that's gold.
Gold, Jerry.
Yes. All right. So, what about real quickly? Any players you think that should be sells based on free agency or trade results?
The sells, it's like see above, right? But let me give you my buys.
Okay.
Do it.
Because I have my favorite buy right now. And in some spots, he's very expensive because some people see it the same way as I see it. But I'm seeing him, well, and actually, especially right now on Underdog, his ADP is like, you have to scroll way down. Albert Okuibunam. Albert O is, you want access to ceiling? Like if you have to pick a tight end who could finish in the top 3 or 4 tight ends and like break his way into these guys, like I'm not saying he will. That would be stupid. Otherwise, I'd be drafting him tight end 6. But I'm saying he has the ability to be that. His efficiency was off the charts last year. He was actually more efficient and more impressive than Noah Fant. I think that's why the Denver Broncos were fine letting Noah Fant go because they had Albert O in tow. I'm a poet. But I think he was my tight end 1 in that class over Komet and Troutman. My Patriots picked 2 shitbag tight ends ahead of him in the 3rd round and made me have an aneurysm. They didn't have to go spend all this money on Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. They could have just had Albert O. So I think Albert O is there. Now, I've said this about a number of tight ends in the past. I've said it about George Kittle, Darren Waller. I was right. I also said it about OJ Howard. So don't take all that I'm saying as stone. I'll miss sometimes. But look, I'd go back and do it again with OJ Howard. I don't know, man. What was his problem? I mean, who knows? But yeah, maybe. But there's something else going on there.
What did you say then?
Health.
Yeah. Health's been a big part of it.
Yeah. I mean, Achilles. I mean, he's had some issues. I get it. But like, he was in the doghouse before he was hurt.
He was Kyle Pitts, guys. Let's face it. He was literally Kyle Pitts coming out as a rookie. Like people were going bananas over him.
Loved OJ Howard. Just really, really prototypical, size, speed specimen. So you miss some, but Albert O is in that vein. I think he is absolutely a huge high upside tight end. So I can't be more excited about a player than Albert O. And if you can get him, at the right price, then absolutely. I mean, I'd try and trade, some sort of, Cole Kmet, Mike Gesicki type of tight end and maybe get Albert O plus. Like, are you kidding me? I have Albert O ahead of them anyway. So for me in Dynasty, he's in my top 10 tight ends because of upside. His floor, I get it. Although his floor is about as good as any of these other shit bags. You know what I mean? It's not like the floor is awful for these tight ends. We've seen it year after year after year. So the floor is always, I don't play them anymore. Like, that's the floor for all these tight ends. So, but the access to ceiling with Albert O has me absolutely excited. So Albert O, huge buy.
Love that.
I like that call.
Yeah, he was in best balls after the Russell move. He was such good value because his ADP was so low and people weren't seeing him. So
Yes.
it's so easy to go grab him as your tight end one, like super late in drafts.
Yes.
Quick OBT, Alberto or Dalton Schultz?
Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz is really good right now. I have him up there, but like really close. These two guys are very, very close in dynasty. But I think Dalton Schultz is being slept on. If you have a dynasty manager in your league and you can make some sort of an interesting like trade, who are some of the guys like who did I try and do it to? I don't remember, but and they were like, "You got to be shitting me! You're not getting Dalton Schultz for me." And I was like, "Okay, I got it." But I would give some Dalton Schultz a try because I think he's got a huge ceiling this year as well. He's not as much of an athlete, but I think he's going to get like, what did he have for targets last year? Can anybody look it up real quick? I'm going to try and see if I can.
Alberto?
Had 104.
No, Dalton Schultz, right? 104? Right. So
yep.
you're talking 104 targets in an offense that had Amari Cooper. Now they lose Amari Cooper. I think Dalton Schultz, he was 89 targets 2 years ago too, by the way. So he's got 90 and 100 targets. I think he's a shoo-in for 100 targets. And ceiling's out at probably what? 120, 125 targets. Like if he gets 120 targets, I mean, he has 10 touchdown upside for sure.
He could be top 5.
He could absolutely have a huge season. He's not a crazy athlete. That's the downside of Dalton Schultz, but I think he's found money right now.
Right. Well, I mean, Zach Ertz also not a super athlete. So
yes,
but it basically if you tight end, if you're talking redraft or you're talking, you're making trades of existing tight ends, trying to get to 100 targets is basically your cheat code. If you take a look at the top 7 tight ends, all of them were over 100 targets except for George Kittle, who was at 95.
Yep.
And then
also,
and then the most targets after that was 90, and that was Noah Fant. So it again just plays into your Alberto over Noah Fant.
I remember my sell, by the way. Pat Freiermuth. I don't think he's bad.
I was just about to do the OTC with Fry. Because I was looking at Theo. I'm like, what about
Theo, you might want to cover your ears, take off your earbuds.
Listen,
earmuffs. Take a bathroom break or anything?
You know me. I will sell anybody in Dynasty. So I
like Freiermuth. I like Freiermuth. He's my like tight end 8 in Dynasty, like tight end 8, 9. I'm in there. Like I actually have him ahead of Alberto, who's at 10 or whatever. But like I think Freiermuth is perceived as one of like the net. Like you might be able to. I just made a trade, Freiermuth, and I moved from like the 202 to the 211, and I got Hawkinson. Right? So I mean, I might have given up a pretty good player, but that's a small price to pay to get to Hawkinson, in my personal opinion. Even though I really like Freiermuth, I don't think he's an elite tight end. I don't think he gives you access to ceiling. I don't love him in that offense. I think the offense takes a little bit of a step. I don't know. Well, not step back. Jeez Louise. But it's not a great offense with Trubisky. I don't know exactly what they're going to be. Right? I mean, it's a little – I don't know. I think he's a little overvalued. I think he's maybe Hunter Henry, and you wouldn't do that for Hunter Henry. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So here's a trade. Speaking of Hawkinson, here's a trade I made for Hawkinson. I traded Irv Smith and 2 mid-seconds for Hawkinson.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that.
That's a great one.
Hawk's another guy falling in drafts, I find. Dan, we saw that last night. I think it was Wheeler that snapped him up at a great value. He seems to be dropping. I don't know if it's the whole Detroit uniform that, turns.
Yeah, I think it's partly that. I think, he was hurt at the end of the year. So there's a little bit of, recency bias going into it. And, like you say, all you have to do is think about Jared Goff at quarterback, and it becomes hard to stomach. But, sometimes, I like finding places where I can win ugly. Winning ugly to me is fun. And Hawkinson's one of those win ugly guys.
Yeah. I mean, Hawkinson had 84 targets in just 12 games. I mean, I think, at some point they're going to be able to move the ball a little bit better. Amon-Ra was a little bit better for them this year. Hawkinson was hurt all year. He had his lowest yards per reception, like lowest yards per target. Like he just wasn't, the player that he I think he is. So yeah, I think he was just a lot of, close to the line of scrimmage catches. I think he'll be a better player going forward. Hopefully he's healthy, But I think he's a much better player than he showed last year as a descending asset. I think he'll turn it around. I mean, he's still only 24, 25 years old. So I'm with you 100%. Love Hawkinson. I think he's a stud.
And on a per game basis, he was a tight end 6 last year.
Yeah, there you go.
So
you prefer Hawkinson or Goddard?
Hawkinson.
No question.
Hawkinson for me as well.
Yep.
All right.
Easy call.
I got a question for you. A lot of uncertainty with some, not a lot, but there's a handful of QB situations that are a bit cloudy right now. How do you approach the weapons around, the gray area? So I'm talking like Carolina, DJ Moore's, those kind of weapons. Maybe San Fran, Seattle, Pittsburgh. We touched on some of them with Claypool, but how do you approach this situation in general? And are there values? Are there places you're avoiding, or how do you play those situations?
I think it's a little bit more maybe in redraft. You stay away from those offenses. In Dynasty, I mean, those situations can change sometimes even in the same year. Trades or injuries. What's the old saying? We're one injury away from being a good team, right? Jared Goff goes down, we have a chance. Right?
Well, hopefully his mother wasn't listening, because that's harsh.
Yeah. We're sorry to all of Jared Goff's relatives.
No, but you know what I mean? Like sometimes you're literally one injury away from being a good team. Like, you never know who that guy is. I mean, Tom Brady, was a result of an injury. Not to say that Drew Bledsoe was bad, but you just never know. So things can change pretty quickly. Trades. Gardner Minshew's always available to switch teams. If he goes to your team, arrow up for all your dynasty assets on that team. Kind of joking, but kind of not.
Kind of not. Yeah, I'm all in on Gardner.
I mean, he I was saying this joke for years, and now I think it's clearly true. Gardner Minshew greater than Baker Mayfield.
Oh yeah,
100%.
That was such a hot take.
For fantasy, not even close.
Dan's in a mustache.
Real football.
Dan's in a mustache DM with old.
Yes. We talk various forms of mustache,
handlebars, the whole deal.
All of it. Yeah.
God bless you.
Yeah, I'm I was working on the mullet for a while, but
oh, dude, that would be awesome.
You should do a mustache.
You grow the mullet, and I'll grow the crown. Well,
there
right. You go. How about
that? Yeah, but I mean, to just touch on Carolina briefly, like DJ Moore, he was like wide receiver 18, I think, in fantasy points. Played all 17 games, but he was wide receiver 6 as far as number of targets. And so that's something. It's like, you look at that and you go, how much worse could it even get? I mean, he's still going to get a shit ton of targets. Like DJ Moore is a huge target for me in Dynasty right now.
Love DJ Moore, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's just all touchdown. It's all touchdown variants with that kid. I mean, he just hasn't been able to score touchdowns kind of because they have nobody to throw touchdowns, right? I mean, it's not like he hasn't been not getting a big share of the touchdowns. There are no touchdowns.
3 straight years of more than 1,150 yards, but 4 touchdowns.
And then what's going to happen is that Christian McCaffrey is going to be healthy all year. DJ Moore will still get his 162 targets, and he'll still only get 4 touchdowns.
Because they're going to have McCaffrey. Kenny Pickett.
Oh gosh!
But nonetheless, I'm still buying on DJ Moore because it is just weird variance.
Yes,
it does seem like Kenny Pickett to Carolina. It does seem like it's going to happen. And he was committed to Matt Rule when Matt Rule was the Temple coach. So they go way back. He can't pass up Pickett.
Yep. It's a problem.
I like what you said, Scott, with just the value. It's just value being offered with those weapons, right? Where there's question marks, and we touched on them, like we said with Carolina. Anything else, guys? Anything else to pick? I know we're at $130 here, so we appreciate you sticking around with us, Scott. Anything else, guys? Before
I'm paid by the minute, so this is fine. Let's keep
rolling.
I'm joking.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've already had to dig through the couch cushions to pay for this one.
That's actually all it took.
Yeah, we'd have Scott on all the time if we could just afford him. So
I love it. You guys are great, man. This was a fun show. I've been busy as all get out, and I did have a little bit of time to prepare, although it didn't show. But You guys are great. Thanks for having me. It's so much fun. I love it. Hopefully your audience appreciates what I bring to the table. I try to have some fun with it. So
100%.
No, this was an awesome one tonight. Awesome one for sure.
Yeah, tons of goodness, man. A lot of writer downers like the Jelani Woods tight ends. I mean, the FFPC crowd's loving that right now. You know, they're all looking at their rookie draft picks to see where this guy's going to fall, where they can reach for him a bit.
Love Jelani Woods. Yeah, he's
like, you know, tidbits like that are great, man, and that's why we love having you on. That's why you're on 3, and we'd love to make number 4 soon post draft. Get you on, get your thoughts on where these guys land. Just again, remind all the peeps where your goodness is found, all the goodness you guys have at the Undroppables. Anything else you want to share with them before we close this out?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the anatomy series is now in article form. You know, it's sort of a tweet that I do, a thread, but it's in article form. It's short and easy, but it's there for easy digestion on theundroppables.com. You can find me on theundroppables.com. You can find our show. Actually, you can just not Google, search The Undroppables. It'll come right up. I'm on the Undrafted podcast, where podcasts are found, and the rest of the team's doing all sorts of cool stuff. But yeah, if you search The Undroppables, all of our other shows, podcasts come right up. So follow us on YouTube. Yeah,
follow Jax, man, at Dino Game Theory. Just always a bunch of goodness. The anatomy series is something he dropped on Twitter, which again, you don't, it's not under a pay. What do they call that?
Paywall, yeah.
Paywall.
Speaking of paywall, we started to do a Patreon for our community, which is actually really cool now. You know, we wanted to build a little something before we even – we're not necessarily – I mean, we're obviously looking for money, I guess, to help keep the thing going. We've got a lot of cool tools coming out and stuff like that, but we're not trying to get rich necessarily, although rich would be fine. I'll take it. But the Patreon community is really cool. And ultimately, the idea of a Patreon community sometimes, too, is just to keep out the riffraff and to make sure that everybody's there for the right reasons. So we have a private Discord and a lot of access to, we have our medical team in there. We have, our Devi team in there. We have our college guys. We have our contract guys. We have film-based guys. We have Blake Hampton, our director of analytics. We have Chalk, who's freaking brilliant. You have access to all these different people with different, backgrounds. So you can ask a medical question in there and actually get an answer. So, we're trying to provide some value for that. So our Patreon is wide open. Go to theundroppables.com, become a member. You can cancel whenever the hell you want, but check it out. We're having fun.
Check it out, guys. Dan, before I give Theo the stage for what's up next in the district, dude, loved the lineups of questions tonight. The organization of the show, well done, Dan.
Yeah, for sure.
Remind the peeps where they can find all your goodness and what you have going on right now.
All right. So you can find me at Overhyped Sweeper, just like it says on the screen. Drop the final E from Sweeper. And I do have to admit, and this is going to pain me to do so, but I do have to admit that Scott might have been right on Cam Akers.
Wow.
Whoa.
What was remind us old folk with bad memories
about the Achilles?
We had a big debate. We'll have to pull up the Goat District archives later, yes. But there was a good 5-minute debate between Jackson Dan on Cam Akers and his viability coming back from injury. Jackson was very adamant last year that Cam Akers was a dynasty buy.
Yes.
And if I remember, and I'll give you props now, you were advocating trading a random, what would be late 2022 first round pick for Cam Akers. Right now, if somebody offered you the 110 for Cam Akers, you're auto turning it down any time. So it was a good call. It was a great debate, and it was big time though. You guys are going back and forth.
Yeah. I'm still not gonna, I'm still gonna fade any running back with an Achilles like James Robinson. I'm gonna fade him. Now, if Robinson comes back too, all right, then we're cooking. Then
they're all coming back. Listen, they're all coming back. They're all coming back to health. The problem with James Robinson is he's not coming back because he was an undrafted player. So,
right.
That's the difference, right? So, OJ Howard's back. Kevin Durant is back.
Kevin Durant,
Emmanuel
yep.
Sanders came back. Marlon Mack just got signed in Houston. Dante Foreman is back. They're all back. The medical is not the problem. I'm telling you, this is not an issue. Just pay attention to all sports. Kene Ningwanu, or whatever his stupid name is in Minnesota, he's back. Like, he's back to being Kene Ningwanu. I mean, he's a special teamer return guy, but he runs fast as lightning, man. And he had an Achilles pop. So all these guys who are getting these Achilles are actually coming back much faster than we ever thought, and much faster than they ever did. I think the medicine is better. I'm not a doctor, but I'm telling you what I see. And it used to be the death sentence for an athlete. Oh, Achilles, you're dead. I mean, Kobe Bryant came back. He was like 40. He was cooked before the Achilles, so it's not his fault. Like, he was old, but he shot a free throw with a torn Achilles. But no, but I think they're coming back. And, Terrell Suggs was the first one that came back that same season. And that was years ago. He came back as a linebacker. I know it's not the same as a running back, but, I definitely saw that he would come back. Now, he's not all the way, quote unquote, back, because we don't know if he's elite or good or what he is. I mean, I think he's pretty close to very good to elite, but the jury's still out there. I mean, who knows what type of player he is, but I think he's back as a healthy player. Go get Cam Akers. Love Cam Akers. Love that dude.
Yeah, I like him too, and I especially like the discount that we're getting because he didn't completely tear it up in the playoffs. And it's like, hey, I was just happy to see that he didn't get re-injured, and that he was trusting it. I can wait another year for the explosion to come back here, and I can wait for 23, because I think with a full off season, he probably is going to get that explosion back. So
I hope so. Again, I'm not a doctor. I don't know if there is, maybe there's still some explosive, sap, right? There's like some, if he was a 99, now he's a 82. I don't know. I don't know exactly how much of your explosion you lose. Who knows, man? I mean, that's so hard to quantify or figure out, but I'd love to see him sort of just turn it all around and be like, RB1 again, just be dope. That'd be fun. I mean, got to be pulling for the kid as a player. And of course, I'm pulling for him because I have him in so many damn leagues. So that'd be nice to watch.
I have him nowhere, but I'm still pulling for him. I think it's a great story. And so now that I've completely ruined the outro.
Nah, you did great.
You did great,
man. No, dude. It's we got to let Theo flex the guest list. I mean, our guest list is probably like if you're looking across the land, ours is jacked up on some serious HGH, because guys like Jack's come here on the reg. We had Zachary Kruger last night just to hang out and do a ball in, man. Like that's how big the guests are. Theo, who do we have coming up in these next couple weeks?
So next week we have Abib Agbatoba coming back on, First and 15 podcast, and the two-time Football Guys champion. So we'll get his takes on the off season. We haven't had Abib on in a while. It's going to be a really good one to touch on with so much going on, and maybe get Abib's favorite prospects in the draft as well.
Do you want to play rough? Okay. No. Say hello to my little friend.
Well, there you go.
It's basically how we feel when Abib walks in, and when our guests come in. Guys, we just want to bring you guys the best. We want to help you guys win your leagues. We know you're getting riled up right now. You're either already drafting your startups. You're for sure already doing your best balls. You're getting prepped for your rookie drafts. Hopefully we helped you tonight. Kill your rookie drafts. Drop your comments. Let us know what your favorite rookies are. For sure, follow Jax out there at Dynasty Theory. Remind me again. At
Dino Game Theory.
Dino Game Theory. Sorry, brother. And guys, check out Underdog. Get up to $100 matched if you use the code DISTRICT. If you're not already signed up, myffpc.com. We talked about all the goodness, and get all your GOAT gear and your Undroppables gear at VeridianGlobal.com. Guys, keep balling, keep drafting, keep trading. We'll check you all later.
Goat district, you know the Pope listens. Dynasty, our religion, for the blokes missing. On all of these trades, on all of these plays, on all of these grades. By the end of the day, y'all getting played. So, what you gonna do next? Try to fill up that flex? Send the homie a text? That trash offers the best? You try to make it complex, then they text you back. Now all of a sudden they don't make any sense. Broaden your horizons, boy. Dynasty's not for the Simons, boy. These trades not for consignment, boy. Respect your opponent, y'all some piranhas, boy. This my advice from me to you. Open up your cute little podcast queue. Search up GOAT District, my dude. Pop it in your ear, man. Y'all know what to do. It's the... And I always be traded. And I always be traded. And I always be trading. Y'all try to betray them, but first you gotta bait them. Fish.
That was awesome, Scott.
Thanks,
Yeah.
man.
Fun one,
Thanks.
guys.
Yeah, that was
Excellent.
great.